changing your life one story at a time. This is the Chicken Soup for the Soul podcast with Editor-in-Chief Amy Newmark.
Hey, it's Amy Newmark with your daily dose of Chicken Soup for the Soul inspiration. It's Thoughtful Thursday, and that means I get to share a story with you that made me think and that gave me a useful new perspective. Now, anyone who knows me knows that I have a big mouth when I think something is wrong. I was that kid, the one who told the teacher when something wasn't fair, and I was the mom who would confront teachers, principals, and other authority figures when I didn't like something they were doing that affected my kids. So, of course, being the big mouth that I am, I loved two stories in our Mother's Day book, Chicken Soup for the Soul, thanks to my mom, about, you guessed it, moms who stood up for their kids, even when it was a bit scary to do so. I included these stories in a book about thanking our moms because I thought it was an important message for moms who are in the trenches right now raising kids. Your kids will remember when you stand up for them, as these grown children did when they wrote these stories for us. The first story is called Speak Up, and it's by Maria Calderon Sandoval. Maria didn't want to go to school anymore. She was in second grade, and she hated school all of a sudden after she had been loving it, and she didn't want to tell her mom why she wouldn't go to school. But her mom knew this had been a happy little kid, and now this was an upset little kid. So her mom finally got it out of her. Maria's teacher was pinching her on the arm and even on her back. Maria's mom was furious, but she calmly told Maria that she would talk to the teacher. And then Maria was terrified because she figured her mom's intervention would only lead to more trouble, retribution from the teacher. But the next day, Maria's mom spoke to the teacher, and the teacher accused Maria of lying. But Maria's mom stood up for her daughter. She was firm, and she threatened to go all the way to the district supervisor if she had to. And after that, Maria's teacher never mistreated her again. And Maria learned something about sticking up for your rights, and it's a lesson she passed on to her own children. Now, we have another story on the same topic in Chicken Soup for the Soul, thanks to my mom, and it's by Susan DeWitt Wilder, and it's called They're My Children. And what I like about this is that Susan's mom stood up to a minister, which I think is an even scarier thing to do than standing up to a teacher. Susan was 7 and her sister was 5 when this happened. They were sitting alone in a pew in the middle of a big white church in their small Vermont town, while their mother was up front directing the choir. Susan and her sister were good for a while, but then the 5-year-old, Susan's little sister, started playing with Susan's hair and started whispering to her. And the minister stopped the sermon and in front of the whole congregation said in a very loud voice, "You 2 girls come down here and sit in front of me." Well, the terrified little girls started walking down the aisle toward the minister, but their mom gestured to them to sit in the pew nearest her, where she was standing to direct the choir. The girls sat where their mom directed, and the minister boomed, "I told you girls to come sit here in front of me." And the girls froze. What were they supposed to do? Obey the minister or obey their mother? And their mother decided for them. Even though the minister was in charge, their mother called out and said, "They're my children, and I'll tell them where to sit." Now, doing that in a church in front of the entire congregation is a big deal. And Susan's mom was a little embarrassed that she had done it, and she never told their dad, who was at home with their 2 younger siblings, and the girls never told him either. But they were so impressed by their mother's bravery in standing up to the minister of their church. It made the girls feel important and valued. Their mom had put them first. And Susan and her sister, who are now middle-aged women, still repeat to each other, "They're my children, and I'll tell them where to sit." This stuff matters. I remember my mom standing up for me. She had to go to the principal of my high school when a teacher tried to keep me from graduating when I was a senior. Moms rescue us. And that's why we made this whole book about saying thanks to our moms. They deserve to know that this stuff matters and that we do appreciate the sometimes embarrassing, sometimes scary things they do for us. I'm Amy Newmark. Thank you for listening to the Chicken Soup for the Soul podcast today. I'd be grateful if you would help me spread the word by telling your friends and family. And if you'd like to read more stories from the book I mentioned today, Chicken Soup for the Soul, thanks to my mom, please go to our website, chickensoup.com.